On then and connect with another corporate voice. Talk to the management of United Breweries about the volume growth, the regulatory issues, as well as the FY20 targets in place. Shekhar Ramamurthy, Managing Director, United Breweries, now joining in on the show. Thanks for taking time out, and might sound like a broken record, but we're talking about this consumption slowdown, so I can't help but ask, how are you seeing the liquor industry has done at a time like this? Has it been a victim or relatively been resilient?
Yeah, good morning. Well, the beer industry normally has its peak season in Q1. But unfortunately, this year, as we had spoken earlier, this year Q1 was bang in the middle of our elections. And elections tend to be a dampener to our business because of closures of outlets, because of restrictions in hours of production and dispatch. So Q1 was muted more on account of election restrictions and not so much on slowdown. So we have registered a mid-single digit growth, but actually, as we have also mentioned, if you look at our depletions, which is secondary sales, was about 7% up. So not double digit, but not entirely slow. What we are seeing going forward is, Q2, Q3, we expect a pickup. Fortunately, and at the same time, unfortunately, the monsoons this year have been very severe. In Karnataka, we read that the August rains were the highest in over a century, and many other parts of the country, the highest rains in the last 2 to 3 decades. So while that augurs well for the water bodies in our country, which is very good, but it also negatively impacts the sale. So we saw good uptick in June, but August has been slow. But overall, if you look at over the next 6 to 12 months, we expect the industry to grow mid to high single digits. And we expect UBL, because of our portfolio, because of our brand strength, to grow ahead of that.
Would have not there. And if, let's say, I would have told you, Shekhar, let's take the clock back to January or February 2019. What do you think your projected growth was, and where do you think it has slipped the maximum?
Yeah. Well, Nikunj, I have always maintained that the underlying growth of the industry is mid to high single digit. The double digit growth you saw last year was also on account of the weak comparators. We came off highway ban, we came off extreme duty hikes in several states. Our view has always been that in a steady state, the industry growth is mid to high single digit. And if you actually look at it in that perspective, that's where we are. We do expect the industry to grow at mid to high single digit, which is, let's say, 6 to 8%, which is the underlying growth given the various constraints which are there, A, internally to our industry, and B, there is obviously a slowdown in the overall economy, which also acts as a dampener to consumption. But, I would say that over the next 12 to 24 months, 6 to 8% industry growth is reasonable to expect.
So the point I'm trying to perhaps take forward, Shekhar, is that your guidance at the beginning of the year was that the industry will grow in late single digit, you will grow in mid-teens. And that is what you're sharing us right now, that the revival will come and you expect that the previous growth to go back. So can I safely say that the effect of slowdown, at least for United Breweries, is behind us, and now you definitely and certainly see better days ahead? I mean, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, we do see growth being higher than what we have seen in Q1, definitely. That was an aberration. I think the bigger challenges that we see going forward are spike in our input costs. Because across board there has been an increase in price of glass bottles, barley, etc. So I think the challenge in the business, Nikunj, is volume will come, of course, and I still say it won't be double-digit industry growth, it will be mid to high single-digit. But the biggest challenge will be over the next couple of years managing the input cost increase, which particularly for us, because in the beer industry, the states whom we supply to in 65% of the markets don't allow us price increases. That becomes a big challenge.
Shekhar, also wanted to understand, the problematic markets, Bengal, UP, which had seen a slump, I recall, in FY19, and finally seeing hopefully a little bit of respite. Would you say the issues there are now dissipating?
Yes, of course. In Bengal, actually the industry this year, post-April, after some corrections we took in the pricing, has been very sharp. We've almost seen doubling of our volumes in Bengal starting April. So Bengal, I would say, has revived. Of course, it's still not reached the levels where it was before it collapsed, but it'll get there. UP also, the growths have come back, and UP's the challenge for United Breweries, as we have mentioned, is that we don't have adequate capacity at this point of time to meet our full demand. We're working on that, but from the positive aspect, there is growth in both the markets. And yes, we do believe that the worst is behind us here.
The input part, I want to go back to that input part. Are you in a position to increase prices because of barley, glass bottle, which has been the pain point for for the beer industry? Are you in a position to increase prices, or slowdown will force you not to increase prices and take a hit on your margins?
Because I would love to increase prices because there's only so much that an organization can absorb in terms of cost push. But our constraint is the government policies. In 60-65% of the markets we supply to state corporations who control the price at which they buy from us. Though they keep increasing their duties, but the price at which they procure our brands is fixed by them, and they are very reluctant to allow us price increases. So I think our constraint here is more our inability to get a price increase from state governments rather than our reluctance to push price, because we do believe that moderate price increases don't really dampen consumption.
So, safe to say that going forward, you aren't going to see the threat of any emerging new players or major competition beefing up. What's the sense, and what's your strategy in place as well to take it on?
Well, competition is always there. From an organized perspective, all the major brewers of the world are here. From the new players, we're seeing a mushrooming of the brands in the wheat beer and in the craft kind of beer. So every day you see new brands coming in. So competition is always there. We are well placed to take them on and make sure that we offer to consumers various choices that they want. If you would have noticed, over the last 2 to 3 years, we have really broadened our portfolio. We are putting a lot of emphasis on Heineken and Ultra, which are our premium mild beers. We have launched Kingfisher Storm and Amstel in the premium strong beer category. We are bringing in import portfolio brands from the Heineken portfolio. We've also launched non-alcoholic Kingfisher Radler as well as Heineken Zero, and we are very close to launching our version of wheat beer. So our portfolio is far broader and wider than it was 2 to 3 years ago, because we recognize that as the markets grow and consumers mature, they want variety, and UBL will be there to offer them quality brands backed by our marketing and distribution.
Since you're talking about the various brands here, what is your product mix like? You just talked about Amstel, you talked about Strong, and of course the non-alcoholic beverages as well. What percentage of sales comes from each of these, and which is your dominant product?
We don't like to put out exact numbers of specific new brands, because they are in the growth phase still. What I can say safely is that our new brands are growing very well, are doing very well, but a company like ours, the major sale will continue to be our core brands. Kingfisher Premium and Kingfisher Strong are and will continue to be our core. It's based on this core that we are able to introduce these new brands and invest behind them.
All right, Shekhar, appreciate your time. Always you look forward to our interactions and look forward to see much more of you going forward.